Ladies and gentlemen, before I even start, I'm going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe. The comments help get me out of the shadow ban. The subscription will ensure that this army builds and grows, and the likes will juice this bad boy in the algorithm. Now let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. With episode 10, my friend, let's begin. It's episode 10, my friend, do you begin? Don't pretend that you can't, want to be inside my kin. Let's go, baby. Episode 10, announcements. We're going to knock them out quick, because last week they were like 4 minutes. Okay, they need to be quicker. Every Friday, I think that's when we're going to do the call-in show. You can call in. Number's going to change. You got to be watching my Instagram for that. I'll be posting details there weekly. Probably going to move it to the Patreon eventually. We're getting started here. We're getting revved up. Okay, patreon.com/IzzyandGriffin for the ultra episodes. Okay, every episode I release on YouTube has an ultra companion. So this is episode 10. Episode 10.5 will be on the Patreon. Okay. I'm also going to be doing bonus episodes, okay? So those are going to be on YouTube, sometimes maybe Patreon. I don't know. It kind of just depends on what it is, right? Last week we had on the Gnostic Pope, who talked about tons of stuff, blew my mind. He's an ex-Freemason. He knows his stuff like an insane amount, right? Like it's really crazy. Anything else? Listen to Gloom, my album. It's going to surprise a lot of people with how good it is. And that's really pretty much it. I have these hats for sale. Y-Star hats. The symbol, okay, people ask what the symbol means. The symbol, it is not a sigil, but it is a symbol, and it is based off of Al-Jiz, okay? Right side up, it means life. Upside down, it means death. But when we put the star in the middle of it, it represents the transcendental nature that Christ brings to our lives. And speaking of Christ, a lot of you guys are loving the Bible stuff. It's super sick. I'm stoked on how much you guys are liking it. Let me know what you guys like in the comments. If you want more of something, let me know. If you want less, let me know. I am one of those people, right, who takes the opposite route of like a Joe Rogan or a Bappa, a Brendan Schaub. I read the comments because I want to know. I want to be self-aware. Sometimes it's really bad for my mental health, but that's what I do. I need to be on top of it, and I want to be receptive to you guys. We're really going for it now. I have also quit my job. I couldn't take the spitting in my face. Couldn't take the piss torpedoes, the piss pistols. Couldn't handle it anymore. Peepeepoopoo boy, no more. I'm just ING, Izzy and Griffin, coming at you with the Esoterica. That's what we're doing from now on. So if you can, grab a hat, go to my Patreon, check it out, or just enjoy the show here. Just enjoy the show here, sit through the ads, because we had to monetize this now, because I don't have income now. I need your help. But that's pretty much it. First things first, we're going to talk about something that ties directly into just me not having a job anymore. What I'm becoming is an ornamental hermit. Now, an ornamental hermit, you say, what is an ornamental hermit? Some of you know, I posted about it on Instagram, right? But some of you don't know. But an ornamental hermit is one of the strangest little quirky beings that existed in the 18th and the 19th century. Aristocrats used to have these people that would live on their property, who they would pay roughly $40,000 a year if we did a conversion on how much money it was back then. And they were real living people who would just live on their property in these little hermitages that they would build. So they would build these little like huts, and they would like garden, and they would just garden around it, and they would just grow beards and wear robes, and they were supposed to act like recluses or philosophers or mystics or wizards, right? And depending on the family, each one had like a different sort of rule set, right? Like many of them were not supposed to be seen at all. Like it's really focused. So my goal is to become the ornamental hermit of the internet. I don't need tons of fame. I don't need a lot of stuff. I don't really have that much stuff. I'm not a very materialistic person, okay? I just want my own little space where everyone who's interested can watch me from afar, and they can maybe wave, and I just look, I shoot them a smile. A comment is your wave, right? It's your metaphorical wave. And I just shoot you a thing. I shoot you the breeze. So much so that one of the first things I'm going to buy myself when I'm financially doing well, you'll know that I'm financially doing better because right now I'm in shambles, when I'm rocking the robes, because I have been looking into it. I am going to buy myself some Nightweave ornamental hermit robes. They're going to be here. I have a color selected and everything. It's going to be what it is. And here's the thing. I'm not just going to wear it when I'm doing the shows. I'm not just doing it for Izzy's World. I'm not just doing it for the call-in shows. I'm going to wear it around. I'm going to wear it around California where I live. Okay? And if people don't like it, what are they going to do? Stalk me? I already got one. Baby. You wanted attention, now you got it. All right? People were obsessed with this romantic idea of these little bearded men in nature and all this stuff, and they would just hole them up. They were secluded to the grounds. And upon looking it up, there's a super famous example where this one guy, he was supposed to be relegated to his hermitage. He couldn't leave the property, but he was sneaking off. And he was drinking at a local pub, got caught, got fired. Okay, if you get fired from being an ornamental hermit, I don't really, I don't know what to tell you. But the hermit is actually a major arcana within tarot, and it's basically that is what a hermit is. Like it's a massive archetype, and it's just somebody who is recluse to themselves and is in an era, a self-imposed sort of era, exile, where they are becoming better. They're learning. They're mastering. Okay, but they can't do that around others. Now, speaking of just hermitages in general, I've actually experienced this Holy Spirit activate. I can literally feel it. It's coming on. I've experienced this. In the Bible, Elijah in particular was sort of a hermit. So he would do these amazing feats, like have fire rain down from heaven, right? He killed 400 priests of Baal, okay? He would do these amazing feats. And then he would be told by God to like, he would be secluded. He'd be like, you got to go back to the cave. Okay. And he would sit in this cave, right? And he would listen to the whispers from God, right? We all think that when we hear a word of God or a revelation or have a vision or something, it's always going to come in these loud, epic, booming, you must become the ornamental hermit of the internet. Not always. Sometimes it's in the whispers. And that's what Elijah would hear. He would seclude himself away, and he would be so angry and frustrated waiting for the word, and it would just come in a whisper. And this is an amazing transition and an amazing sort of evolution as we get and we understand what the Holy Spirit is as we go through the New Testament, because the Holy Spirit speaks in a way, it's not like an audible thing in your ear. It can be. People have that. It can be. I've had that before. I've talked about it, right? But a lot of times it's in your spirit, in your being. It's almost like your consciousness in a way, right? And you can hear it in the whispers, right? I have this idea that everybody knows. And what I mean by that is like, you already know what you need. You already know what you want. You already know what's going to happen. Oftentimes, we have these questions that would make us do something like, I'm going to go get a tarot card reading. I'm going to consult a psychic. I'm going to be Lana Del Rey and consult a psychic. I'm Lana Del Rey. I listen to Jesus, but I still call my psychics when I need advice, right? Great song, Lana. Great song. But you don't always listen to what you know, because you know, if you're overweight, you know you need to lose weight. If you're too skinny, you know you need to bulk up, right? You know these things. We know what we need. We know what we're supposed to do. That is our clairvoyance that we are supposed to just follow. You know. And when you deny that, you are denying the will of what should be and what is. And that is what is God's will, right? Very, very we're hitting it off
Focus
hard right now. Let's go. We're okay. We got to move forward. But we know these things, right? We already know these things. But you know who's someone who knew and didn't know and figured it out? Because if you don't know, you're going to figure it out. You're going to find out. And this was the Liver King. Now, I watched the Liver King documentary recently, which was so confusing to me because it's like this is supposed to like make him look good. It is the most confusing green light I've ever seen on someone of Liver King's status and what happened to him. So if you don't know who the Liver King is, I'm sure you do. But Liver King is this social media figure who made a living off of literally like being a shirtless guy who lived the primal lifestyle, who claimed to only eat raw meat and liver. That's why liver is king. There will be images alongside this of me explaining it. This guy is out of his mind. And one of the big problems with him was he was claiming so much that he was 100% natural, no steroids, which is so obvious that it's not natural. Like his physique is so not normal. It's beyond insane. It's beyond insane, right? And I thought it would be extremely fascinating to sort of break down the psychology of Liver King and connect it to mythology and esoteric archetypes, right? So what we're seeing with the Liver King, that he's this hyper masculine idea of what a man is. He represents this super hyper masculinity. And in the documentary, he talks about how growing up, he didn't have a father. His father died when he was really young. I believe his father died. I'm not sure. I think he did. And when this happened, he was raised by these hyper masculine figures on television. He quotes Rambo and Conan the Barbarian and all of these, you know, figures that are just buff, violent guys. And it's became his role. It like became like all he could fixate on and what he thought a man was. Obviously, this hypermasculinity is not real. It's not realistic, but it was interesting to see how when the camera was off, he's just kind of the same. And he's subjecting his children and his family to this same thing, right? They're at dinner eating liver, raw liver, and all of this stuff. And it's just this person who cannot get out of his own way of what a man really is. And he is just being this movie character. His entire life is filmed. It's all fake. Everything is to an extreme. And he's claiming it's about health, but it's this carefully curated fraud. It's fake, right? But the thing that is so crazy is that what his downfall ends up being is that he lied about being natural, right? He lied about not being on steroids. And he told everyone, I'm natty, I'm natty, I'm natty. It's so bizarre because what we're seeing is he cannot pull himself away, not even from his own image, but from an image he created and then he fulfilled it himself. What we see is like the synthetic version of the myth of Narcissus, right? Now, Narcissus is the word where we get the word narcissist. A narcissist is obviously somebody who is obsessed with themselves. It's a personality disorder, blah, 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 right? But Narcissus is this Greek tragic figure who falls in love with his own reflection to the point where he literally dies because he cannot pull himself away from his own image within the pool of water that he gazes into day in and day out. He has an obsession with being physically perfect, and this beauty destroys him. And it's the same thing that happens to Liver King. It's the same exact thing, consumed by image. Consuming his image and then becomes his lifestyle. Now, if you listened to the Patreon and you listened to what I talk about last week on the bonus about becoming, Liver King became his own brand. He became his own image that was built and based off of these movie characters that are not real. This is not real. It's not real life. It's not reality. These characters are not. Rambo is not real. Conan the Barbarian is not real. And to have a parasocial relationship like that, not even with a famous person, but with a famous not person. It's Rambo, dude. This is why the father in the home is so important. But what does it mean for his kids that their father is this fake? The father is a synthetic version of a man. He has he's aggrandized himself into a Rambo-esque figure in real life. So then when these problems arise, they're all these synthetic, fake things. I mean, the poetic justice is so insane because he falls about a lie. And it wasn't even so much the lie, right? It wasn't even so much that he lied about being natural. It was the way in which he lied about being natural. It's just so wild, dude. And the thing that I find so beautiful about this too is when Narcissus dies, or Narcissus, I don't know how to say it properly. When Narcissus dies, he becomes the Narcissus flower. He becomes a literal flower. And in the Liver King documentary, at the end of the doc, he talks about how he starts eating vegetables and fruits and how he was too extreme, right? And now he's not as extreme. But his idea of not being extreme is now including fruits and vegetables in his diet that he grows himself on his own farm, and he is shirtless in a garden covered in dirt and sweat, staring into the sun while he rips open a watermelon he grew himself, and he puts it to the sun and he sniffs it and he goes, "Thank you, watermelon," and he starts eating it with his hands. So we have Narcissus who becomes a flower, and we have this man who claims liver is king and that he's a carnivore who eats only raw meat. And then he becomes this guy who's eating watermelons in the sun. I'm picturing a cucumber with a flower, with melons. It's just, the whole thing is very gay in a literal way, like not in like a silly way. Like it's homoerotic, hyper masculine. It's, I think he's like, he might be gay or something. It's so crazy. I don't even know. It's so crazy. The whole thing is so crazy. It's so crazy. I just want to be an ornamental hermit. Please. Can I please be an ornamental hermit? Please. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do it. But it's either that or being the Peepeepoopoo man. Like what are we doing here? Right? So that's the story of Narcissus. That's the story of Liver King, the modern day synthol version. And I do have a couple Bible verses that relate us to this. Of course, we have Proverbs 16:18. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before the fall. And that really was what Liver King was displaying, to lie in such a crazy way. I mean, he would literally be saying like, "My life, I will put my life on the line to prove I am natty." I mean, like, when you're like, it's just really, really, really over the top. And another one, we have 2 Timothy 3:1-5. Now, the letters to Timothy that St. Paul wrote, he was writing them to a guy named Timothy. Okay. And this is a lot of kind of what we talked about with Gnostic Pope last week, is that these were letters. Like a lot of the New Testament were letters, right? There's like Corinthians, Paul was writing to the Corinthians, et cetera, right? But it says, But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, and disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Have nothing to do with such people. Now, this is where the Bible can be difficult, because we're not supposed to be judgmental. We're not supposed to shun people and turn them away. But we are supposed to act wisely, and we are supposed to follow things like this where it says have nothing to do with these kinds of people, right? Liver King is someone that if you know someone like this, they're dangerous. That's a dangerous way to live. It's a dangerous lifestyle. And I think that this is one of those Bible verses that rings insanely true. Insanely true. People are lovers of themselves. They do love money. They are boastful, blah, blah, blah. They are all of these things. And as someone who sort of is moving into this place where I kind of make a living being an quote unquote influencer, it's a weird place because with this, I'm trying to teach. I'm trying to be in this role where I can enlighten people and give them information and also give them entertainment where this isn't perfect. This isn't church, but at least it's not cuties on Netflix. At least it's not something horrific. At least if I can be a buffer for 55 minutes a week, maybe more, then I think I've done at least something, at least a little bit of something, right? Just a buffer. Like I'm over here taking bullets. I'm in Rambo. I'm taking bullets for you, and you're just human shield. You throw me up. Get him, Izzy, get him. I'm just taking him. Getting filled with lead. And then I whisper, liver is and then I die. And that's all I wanted you to know before was don't do synthol. And if you're going to eat a watermelon, eat it normally. Eat it normally. He ate the watermelon more extreme than he did anything else in the entire documentary. Thank you, watermelon. Cracks it open. Rips it in half. Oh, watermelon. I can't. And then he does this whole buildup to just announce that he's like, it's a commercial. It's an hour and 20-minute commercial. He's going to be building farms across the United States where you go in and everybody's a farmer. And it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's nuts. This guy's out of his mind. And then he's doing mushrooms with his kids. That is drawing the line. I get it, dude. Do your thing. Smoke pot, drink. There's a line. You don't do that stuff with your children. You don't do that shit with your kids. That's too much for me. But let's proceed forward. We're going to proceed forward here. Now, these mythological stories always have these archetypal frameworks that are constantly recurring and repeating into the real world, into the material, right? So we have these stories that exist almost in like a Neoplatonic realm of forms, right? So we obviously have the stuff we talked about last week, like the ideal version of a tree. Stories exist in this same way. So that's how we are able to connect things like Narcissus and Liver King. But we have another one. We have Tommy Lee and his estranged wife, Brittany Ferlin. Now, here's the deal. Tommy Lee is infamous for not only drinking and using drugs, but cheating on women, right? So he's dating this new hot Vine chick who's turned comedian, who got Spots on Your Mom's House, the podcast with Tom Segura, because she's banging and she's a smoke show, okay? And she brings Tommy Lee along. Easy to get a spot. Comedians want to be cool so bad that when people who used to be cool need some sort of promotion or they need to like get in good with their hot new wife, they do things like Your Mom's House with Tom Segura. That's like what that was and what that is, right? But Brittany Ferland, totally gorgeous person, but she's kind of an idiot because she was falling in love and cheating on Tommy Lee with a fake Snapchat of the rock star Ronnie Radke. Now, Ronnie Radke is in a band called Falling in Reverse, as well as I think it's called Escape the Fate. One of the bass players from one of those two bands, or maybe both of them, hit me up about stories they have about Ronnie Radke. So I might do something with that. I might do an interview or something. I don't know. But she fell in love with this fake Snapchat thing. And I guess the Snapchatter had been doing it so much that the FBI had to get involved, a bunch of crazy stuff. It's crazy the FBI will get involved with that, but they won't get involved with, stalkers and people harassing, saying they're going to kill you. I don't know. It's kind of crazy how law enforcement works. I don't know. What do I know? The only thing I know is that I don't know much at all. Thank you, Socrates, okay? But like the similarities that we have in the Narcissus myth, okay? And an even funnier thing, even more crazy than that, the way, so I'll talk about Prometheus after this, but there's another story about cheating gods, and this is one of the myths of Freyja. This is a Nordic one, so all my little neo-pagans, where are we at? Oh, here we go. I'm going to use my accent from Vikings, the show, my fake accent, as I shave a pony hawk into my head and wait in the local Shell gas station, acting like I'm a Viking. We're not doing that. I can't do that the whole time. That's so cringe. Neo-pagans are some of my favorite people ever. They're these people, neo-pagans are people who have they watched the show Vikings, okay? And then they were like, yeah, Christianity's weak. I am like Ragnar. And they literally start to believe that they're Ragnar Lothbrok, who was a real person, but, obviously has been mythologized, et cetera, et cetera. People who are into paganry, God bless you. God bless you. In this story, Freyja comes across a magnificent necklace. It's called Brisingmen. It's forged by 4 different dwarves, and she desires it so much that she agrees to sleep with each one of them in exchange for it. Not exactly cheating in the married woman sense, because Freyja's marital status is messy within the myths, because sometimes she's married to different people, blah, blah, blah. But it's still deemed as an act of lust. Okay, and it's seen as cheating. This is so funny, okay? When using for this story, right? For this thing, it's like trying to frame it like she's not cheating. So it's like, oh, but she, Google is so trying to make, I literally Googled mythical stories where a figure cheats, and it's like, well, what don't you want one where women are empowered? It's like, no, I'm trying to convey a story here. So anyways, Odin finds out that she sleeps with these different dwarves to get this necklace, and when he finds out that she did it, he orders Loki to steal the necklace, okay, and he forces her to provoke endless conflicts amongst the kings as penance to retrieve it. It is a story meant to shame Freyja for her sexual appetite and make her suffer for desiring and acquiring a necklace through what is seen as disgraceful means. See how it says that? What is seen as disgraceful means. She's sleeping for things. She's pulling a Lana. Okay? Her suffering is to be publicly shamed amongst the gods and to be humiliated by Odin. This is so interesting because the thing is this is exactly what happened with Brittany. She cheated on this person, Tommy, right? She cheated on her husband in order to get the shiny new thing, which would obviously be the necklace in this case. And when she gets the shiny new thing, it turns out to be a fake Snapchat. The same thing happens when Freyja goes to sleep with all of these dwarves and to cheat on her husband, or whether or not she has one, according to... Stop Google, it's so funny. It's like, this is an example of her being punished for her carnal desires in a male-dominated cosmic order. The entire point of Nordic society, the way it operates, was that there were equal genders. It was one of the, like, it is a classic example of the genders being neutralized because they had shield maidens and everything else. They're actually heralded as an extremely progressive society for the 800s. Okay, it's 1200 years ago, whatever, right? She's trying to get the shiny new thing, and she's using her body as a way to do so. This is the same thing with Ronnie Radke. It's the same exact thing. Brittany Furlan is subjecting herself to humiliation because she's cheating on somebody, right? And it's amazing. I made a post on this on Instagram, and people are talking about like, well, what about all the women Tommy Lee cheated on? It's like, this isn't a whataboutism. Do you know how insane it is to fall for a fake Snapchat? Do you know how crazy that is? That is like beyond boomer material. That is beyond boomer material. Okay. And speaking about the way that this like Google story is telling itself to me, okay, we've got to stop with the left-right paradigm. And if you're someone who buys into it, I just suggest to take a step back. Okay. Because this weekend I tried to do a silly post, not even political, in relation to a political topic. Now, the topic of choice was South Africa and what's going on there, right? Now, I made a comment on the way a politician handled a situation in relation to the actual situation. Okay, so I was not commenting on the political state of what it was. I was not commenting on the politician's stance. I wasn't commenting on anything politically. I was commenting on the way it was handled and what I thought about it. And the barrage of comments that were taking what I was saying and not even taking it out of context, but inserting their own preconceived, frankly, racist notions about me is so crazy and so far beyond anything that I am interested in. Okay? Like, I view myself politically as a foreigner, right? So when the Jews were in Babylon, okay, like historically, like times of Daniel, they did not participate in society as if they were Babylonians. I don't do that either. I don't vote. Okay, I don't vote. I don't do that. I used to. I don't anymore. Didn't vote in the last election. Didn't vote in the one before that. Okay, I don't vote. I don't view myself as being someone who agrees with anything enough to put my name behind it. Okay. That being said, like, this thing brought up a whole conversation in the comments of this video, because I'm in the sections, baby, about like, I'm going to find a left-leaning Esoterica show, which is like the whole point of esotericism is to be beyond the, not even be beyond the material, but to be beyond these like systems and to uncover the real systems, right? If you really want to know who's in control, you don't pay attention to the names. You don't pay attention to the candidates. You don't pay attention to the parties. You pay attention to the symbols and what they mean. The ancient Egyptians were characterized by an eagle, then the Romans, now the United States. Okay, different colors represented different things. Okay, the blue represented a certain part of Egypt, the red a certain part of Egypt on sides of the Nile. Okay, or I'm sorry, the blue was the Nile, right? And these red, white, and blue is characterized over to different countries and now to the United States. It's in the symbols. It's in the symbology. If you are someone who thinks in a left-right paradigm outside of things like, you know, oh, I like this stock market idea guy or whatever, you know, that's one thing. But to be completely consumed with left, right, that is no way to become a mystic. That's no way to be mystical. If someone watches my podcast and they think I'm left-leaning or right-leaning, I don't think I'm doing an adequate job at being someone of whimsy, as some would say, or mystical. I think that that's bizarre. I think that's super weird, especially when I try really, really hard to not make political statements. Like, I think that that is just so not what this is. I think it's so not what fringe and truth seeking is. Like, I don't think that you can be someone who claims to be a truth seeker and be a part of those systems, you know? And it's really discouraging and disheartening that I can't even make like a funny commentary on a political figure's reaction to something. I'm not saying like, I endorse this candidate and I think this is good. And Bob, it was nothing even like that. I just thought that the way that a candidate a politician handled something was like so crazy that I had to comment on it because it was like so insane. That being said, there will never, ever be anything even relating to that realm on this show or in any of my content from here on out because people are unable to, handle it. Like it's literally a handling thing. It's like, I want to know the secrets of the universe, but they have to come from a Democrat. That's crazy. I want to know the secrets of the universe, but I really hope that they're a fan of Rand Paul. It's just like this thing I'm reading of Google and the Freyja story, and it's like, why is Google inserting an agenda to me when I'm just trying to know a myth that happened, whenever it happened. Or maybe it's not a myth. Like there are people who believe that these things are true, right? But I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to get that out there because I have people who think I'm a super lib and I have people who think I'm like a literal neo NAZI. Right? I am neither. I am none of those things. The political compass goes like this. I am levitating above it, giggling at the entire thing. I think it's a big silly game. I think it's a game, right? Speaking of left, right, blue, red, let's talk about color magic a little bit here. And I want to talk about how colors make us feel. I want to talk about how colors can be used magically and mystically and how they are used magically and mystically, right? I think it's so funny because another video people had a very strong visceral reaction to was my Tyler, the Creator video where I talk about he uses what I called color magic. And people were like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Fine. People think a lot of things I say are dumb. I don't know, right? I claim to know everything because it's so funny to claim that, right? But color theory is super true. If it wasn't real, and if color magic was not real, why would fast food chains use it? Why would fast food chains put red in their colors? Because it evokes an aggression and a feeling of hunger, right? Why? Why is there literal color wheels that artists use? Orange being the opposite of blue. Colors complement each other. Colors tell stories in and of themselves. When we think green, what do we think? We think money. We think nature, right? Now, I want you to, when I say these words associated with the color, I want you to feel how your senses feel when I say them, right? Like money, you think crisp. You think of a papery thing, these sensational things, right? When I say like green trees, forests, you think cool, you think temperate, right? If I say like a pink heart, you think of like a lush feeling, right? Soft, right? These colors emote strong feelings and they are used magically. They really are. People will light candles in connotation to the color for whatever it is that they are doing magic of and magic for. Think of the symbology with colors. Like I'm talking about like the color, like the French flag. When we think of the colors of the French flag, you can feel the emotions of France and the revolution. And I'm not talking about the surrender flag. I'm not talking all white. I'm not talking about a joke. I'm being serious for once. Right? When you think of France, you feel the revolution, the heavy red and the blood that went alongside it, and the cool blue. Think about how in every culture across the world, they've done studies on this. Warm colors, typically yellow, orange, red, and everything in between, is associated with hot. Whereas cool colors, right, maybe more of an aqua, a green, a blue, those connotate cool, right? In every single place on Earth, they've done studies on this, right? And the way that these colors are used, like Tyler the Creator specifically, if you look at it chromatically, like with the literal codes, the computer digital codes for the colors, Igor is a pink, the cover of his album, and exactly diametrically chromatically the opposite is a green. It's mirrored. What can these things tell us? What can we learn from this symbology? What can we take from it? Because there's absolutely something there. What archetypally are we being told? These are questions that we need to ask ourselves when we are analyzing things in this mystical way, in this way of thinking magically. Now, the way color magic works, it's very subtle. It's something very subtle, right? And it's as loud as you want it to be. Okay, when we think about, let's say, Johnny Cash, he's the man in black, right? Would you know that Johnny Cash was the man in black if he didn't tell you he was the man in black? You might notice it, but I don't think that we would call him the man in black, right? Essentially what color magic is it harnesses the symbology innately, okay, that exists within the color itself, right? So red is the color of blood. It usually is associated with feelings like passion, okay? Our brain subconsciously goes there, okay? So if I am being confrontational and I'm wearing a red hat, my red hat might symbolize what I'm trying to get out of the situation, or where I stand with the situation. Okay. Interestingly enough, color is a language that all of our brains sort of associate along the same sort of wavelength. Now, remember, Holy Spirit activate, let's go. Remember, color, okay, is a frequency. It has a frequency musically and tonally. There are people who have synesthesia, who can see, they can literally physically see color when music is played. They can see it. I had a friend in college who was like that. Very odd duck. Don't know if I trusted him. Very odd boy. He had this one song. Oh my God, it was so good. And it was I Want to See You at a Party. And this guy, he was a lot like Daniel Johnston, and he would play the keyboard, and he had autism really bad, and he would go like this, and he would play. And it was like, I want to see you at a party. And it was really crazy and over the top. I stole his drummer. He had a great drummer. I stole his drummer. He ended up playing in my band, The Slumps. Really cool, really fun. So anyways, these colors, they are symbols. They are in and of their essence, and their innate existence is a symbol. It resonates within a harmonic frequency that our brains understand on a level that we can't even really verbally comprehend. You can't describe a color. You can't verbally try to describe blue. You literally can't, right? How do we all know going to the light is typically seen as a good thing, right? Unless you believe that the light is you coming out of the birthing canal back into being born back into samsara, right? How do you know? You know, like how do we know? How do we know all of these things? It's something to pay attention to. It's something to do with light intention, right? Like a light, be aware of it. if you're wearing all black all the time, I used to be this guy. I'd always wear black shirts. I still kind of do because I'm self-conscious about the way my tits look. But if you wear black clothes all the time, it'll rub off on you. It really will. It really will. That's why I'm trying to wear the colorful hats. I'm wearing the blues. I'm wearing the reds. It's why I changed my mic out to a red. I want to be more voracious, right? I'm in an offensive position now. For the last several months, I've been in a bit of a passive defensive position as I'm trying to orient myself, and I'm trying to observe where I'm at and where I'm supposed to be, right? I am in the proverbial cave. I'm Elijah in the proverbial cave waiting for the whisper. And as I'm receiving the whispers, I'm taking all of it in, and I'm balancing on the teeter-totter. I'm trying to see where I'm at the teeter-totter, right? Because weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. And if you fall down, you might hurt yourself, okay? Okay. And when you're on that totter and you're weebling and wobbling, you can play it cool. You can play it cool, but if you play it too cool, you're going to freeze yourself. Okay? And that is what becoming is. Becoming is knowing everything about yourself. Everything is an intentional orchestration. That's how you should approach life. That's how you should approach your day, the way you dress, the colors you wear, the colors you choose to be around you. You can't see it, but on this wall, there's a super colorful, huge colorful painting. All of the colors in here in my apartment go in a certain way. It flows in a certain way. Right? Color magic's not real. Okay. Are your walls painted black? Probably not. Right? Why? Why not? If color magic's not real, who cares? If color magic's not real, why don't you just, why don't you wear a white to a funeral, right? Well, these are universal symbols. And understanding even something as simple as this, the red versus blue, right? So a dichotomy as simple as this is a way to orient yourself, and that is a way that you could look at something like politics, right? Where the creation of the left and right, that is a mechanism in which you are supposed to operate within it in a way in which they can orchestrate and change. And they can change it any time, any day. The only way you can win a game with a narcissist is by not playing. Holy Spirit activate, come on, right? Just like with Liver King, the only way you can win a game against someone like that is to not play the game. Because now, so Liver King gets exposed for lying about being on steroids. What Liver King is now doing is he is orienting himself. Okay, he's perceiving and observing where he's at, if he's in the cave or not. What color shirt should he wear? He's not going to wear one. Because now he lied about it, that's okay. Now I'm going to start eating watermelons. Thank you, watermelon. And I'm going to come out with a farm. And everybody's going to go to the farm. Right? Because Liver King oriented himself. Because he's really Narcissus. Now he's the flower. And you know what happens to flowers? They get picked. That's what happens. Say what you will. Flowers get picked. Right? And they get put in a bouquet. And why do we buy bouquets of flowers? Because they're colorful. They make the room look nice. Make the room smell nice. Right? Nobody wants a flower that's not colorful. Right? Nobody wants a flower that's petals fall off too quickly. Okay? How is Liver King gonna do as a flower? Because he's the flower now. Right? When you're existing within an archetype, you are where you're at with it, right? You will hit every stage of that archetype, okay? So that's how it is, right? That's how that works. And everything is key and instrumental within it. Right? Right? I mean, you got to think. You got to think about it. You got to think about this stuff. You got to think about this stuff. Right? Because just like we read 2 Timothy, what did 2 Timothy say? 2 Timothy, what did that say? It said, this generation, everybody's absorbed with themselves. Everybody's so absorbed with themselves and what they know and what I know. I know that there's no such thing as color magic. Really? Okay. You know that? You really know that? Okay. All right. If you say so. You know what my position is on South African politics? Really? You know? That's crazy, because you know who doesn't know? Me. I don't know. I don't. I have ideas and I say things and I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. And you know what? I really don't care. Right? Because at the end of the day, it is what it is, baby. Right? So what is it that you're going to do? What is it that you're going to be? You are becoming. You are also on your own teeter-totter. Are you in an offensive position? Are you in a defensive position? Where are you? Are you in the cave? Are you in your hermitage? Right? What Liver King could have done differently, he could have done a hermitage. He could have done a little hermitage and gone away and taken some time. And he thinks he did that. That's the problem. Because he's a true Narcissus. He's a narcissist. He's a Narcissus. He thinks he's done that. And he thinks the way that I come out of this is thank you, watermelon. Right? That's not how you get out of it. He needed a true hermitage. He needed to truly take himself back, and he needed to truly orient himself. Right? Not in a way that becomes Rambo who eats jelly beans or whatever his new thing is. Right? Because that's not reality. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. You want to become what you're supposed to be. What you're supposed to be in accordance to the will of the greatest of what is, which is God, right? The universe, right? Is what it is. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this week. I appreciate you very much. God bless you. Check out the Patreon if you're interested. And if you're interested, whoa, what the hell was that?